Hey everyone, welcome back. And today I'm going to be doing what if World War One happened in 2025. So, so we have just the normal countries, same thing in Africa, no colonies. So, before we start the video, I just want to say that the African colonies or anywhere else will not be included since it's 2025. They're all independent. So, we see that the let's just say that the Austrian Archduke Franz Ferdinand decides to visit Sarajevo in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and then some Serbians, some ethnic Serbians, decide to try to assassinate him, and then they manage to do that. So Austria sees this. They go over to Hungary and help and form an alliance, and then they both declare war on Serbia, bringing Montenegro in, and then which brings Russia into the war, and which brought France into the war. And then on the Austro-Hungarian side, we see Germany being brought. So I don't know how World War One was played out, but so I will try to do the best that I can with World War One. So the first thing that we see by Germany is that they start invading, which but first they have some difficulty invading France because of the like some bunkers here. So they go over to the Benelux. They invade Luxembourg and Belgium, and then eventually that made Belgium join the war. And then they are able to hold out against the Germans, but then eventually the UK was brought up by invading neutral Belgium. So with the UK now joining, we see that eventually, yeah, Belgium is pretty much destroyed, but then eventually the British is starting to land in France, and then they're able to threaten Paris, and then eventually it's halted to a stalemate. And then here we see Austria and Hungary invading Serbia, which took a while, and then eventually Belgrade falls, and then Serbia surrenders, and then which makes Montenegro surrender. And then we also see Turkey joining the war. Again, I don't know exactly how World War One played out, so this is the best that I could do. And then this is, and Russia sees this that they don't have any uh, bordering with Germany, land border, so they're probably fighting in the waters. But then uh, Russia decides to annex Belarus, and now they declare war on Poland. And then with and then eventually with the Germans seeing that they declare war on Poland, the Germans also declare war on Poland. And then the Russians are advancing into Poland a lot, soon taking over what they had in World War One, soon meeting up with the Germans as they come. Soon Poland is destroyed, and then Poland surrenders. So the Austro-Hungarian sees this, and then eventually they start invading Slovakia and the Czech Republic. And then, with the invasion happening, yeah, they weren't prepared, and then they fall. So, with these two countries falling, they're able to push back the Russians bit by bit, but then eventually it's held into a stalemate. And then we see that Turkey is starting to send some troops over. Uh, uh, Again, I'm not positive how this played out, so I don't know if this actually happened, but I think Japan joined the war. So I guess they declared war. And then here we see some stalemates happening. And then, yeah, for a few more years, we see some stuff happening in Russia, and that is the Communist Party. So, with the North Koreans, Chinese, or something that's funding them, we see some separatist movements in Russia, and they're pretty scattered. And then we see a lot in Siberia, and then eventually one in the valuable part, one in the Kola Peninsula, one in Belarus, and then one in Kaliningrad. So Russia asks if they could leave the war, and then they leave the war. But that made the Germans being able to take over, and then with Russia out of the war, they're able to focus more into the Allies. But then they go over to Mexico, sending them a message. But guess what? The U.S. finds the message, and then they declare war. So with the Americans coming, they're able. Germany is able to push through a lot, sending in most of their manpower alongside with Austria and Hungary. So they're able to push more into France, and then here comes the Americans landing in France, and they're pushed back, and they're able to liberate parts of Belgium, but then again they're into a stalemate, and then I mean, huh? Again, I'm not positive how this played out. I know I said that a lot of times, but I I think that they're able to push back the Germans out of France completely, and then eventually liberate all of Luxembourg and Belgium. And then they start the invasion into Germany. And then yeah, they this happens. And then I think they were able to liberate Montenegro and Serbia. So I guess with the liberation of these, they're able to start the offensive into Hungary. And then yeah, that happened. And then Czechia and Slovakia and Poland were liberated, and then they captured Vienna, going into Bavaria, and then soon they fall. Um, Turkey, I guess they surrender, and yeah, um I I guess that's it. So let's look at the peace treaty. So here's the peace treaty. We see France getting some land, Luxembourg getting some land. Nothing happened to Belgium, nothing to the Dutch since they were invaded. Poland is restored. Nothing much happened to Balkans, except Montenegro being fully annexed by economic aid. And we see some land taken out of Hungary, Austria losing its panhandle, Bavaria becoming independent, and Germany getting some restrictions. And Turkey, nothing happened. In Japan, nothing. And then we see the Soviet Union come back as they annex the Baltics, Ukraine, Moldova, Armenia, Georgia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and Tajikistan. So, and nothing happened with the States, nothing in Mexico, nothing in Africa. Again, the colonies didn't join since they're independent. And yeah, so if anything here is wrong, that's again. I have no idea how World War One was played out. So if anything was needs to be corrected, just put it down in the comments, and and then probably I'll do another video of World War One sometime in the future. And hopefully you'll like the video, and I'll see you on the next one.